What is accreditation? Why does it matter? Do you need a college that has it? On this episode of Ancient Egypt and the Bible. In this episode, we are going to clear up many of the misconceptions over accreditation and why you might want a Bible college that is accredited or even decide that you don't need it at all. When it comes to Bible college, accreditation is one of the most misunderstood aspects of higher education. And particularly in Christian circles, some myths about accreditation get consistently passed around. And the reason is that many respected Christian teachers got their degrees from unaccredited institutions and repeat the myths they were told. This seems to be especially true in the United States, where there's an antipathy between church and state. Under these conditions, the specter of accreditation raises fears over government control and the independence of religious institutions to teach what they want. Now, it is important to recognize that in some countries there is no accreditation process. What we are going to discuss today primarily applies to U.S. schools, where we find the majority of Bible colleges. In other countries, other processes or government regulations may be in effect. So with that said, let's begin our examination of accreditation. First, what is accreditation and how recent is the idea? Accreditation is a quality control process. Accreditation sets standards that ensures that an educational institution meets a certain level of quality. The first accrediting agency was the University of the State of New York, which began to accredit other colleges starting in 1787. And in 1847, the American Medical Association became the first nonprofit organization to accredit the practice of medical education. So the idea of accreditation is hardly new and very well established. Who runs accreditation organizations? The government? Generally speaking, governments do not run accrediting agencies. Accrediting agencies are usually non-profit consortiums that are run and organized by the schools they serve. Accreditors are essentially collectives of schools that ensure that each member school is providing a quality education. Interestingly, the idea of accreditation is actually based upon a biblical principle. Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. The idea here is that we need other people to come in to challenge the quality of our work so that our work becomes better and stronger. Likewise, the process of accreditation brings experts from other schools in to evaluate whether a school is producing quality education and then suggesting ideas on how to improve the way education is delivered. But aren't accrediting agencies just foils for implementing government policy? Well, yes and no. It depends upon if the accredited school wants its students to be eligible for student loans. To be eligible for student loans in the United States, the school must be compliant with Title IX. A school doesn't need to be Title IX compliant to become accredited, however. Title IX compliance and accreditation are separate matters. But if a school wants to be Title IX compliant, an accrediting agency can help a school become compliant with government policy. Isn't secular institutions telling religious schools what to teach just as bad as government interference? That's not how accreditation works. Accreditation is not concerned with what is being taught, only how that content is being taught. For example, an accrediting agency might ask a school, do your teachers have degrees one higher than the level being taught or terminal degrees? They might also ask, have teachers received prior training in the subject areas they're teaching? is the teaching staff receiving additional training and professional development support? Some schools, like Moody Bible Institute, Liberty University, and Bob Jones University, are accredited, but are also rigidly fundamentalist. Accreditors don't really care about the subject matter being taught. The accreditors only care that the content is being delivered in a way that is effective and competent. That doesn't make sense. If outside interference over what is being taught isn't really a concern, what are the real reasons a Bible college might avoid accreditation? Well, there's 3 reasons. First is fear of change, or fear of investing in a process they cannot hope to pass. Fear that certain things will have to take place for them to achieve that accreditation. There's sort of the old adage that nothing scares people more than change. And it's sometimes it's really, really true in the case of schools that are unaccredited. They've done things a certain way for a long time. And this is really, really true, particularly with unaccredited colleges that have been around a long time. There's still unaccredited colleges around from the 19th century who's still teaching things the same old way, and they just don't want to change. The second reason is money. Accrediting can be an expensive process because the candidate school has to pay the expenses of those doing the accrediting. While these agencies are generally non-profit, somebody has to pay for the accreditor's hotel rooms and meals while they're in town. But if your school has a proper endowment, this should never be a problem. The third reason is avoiding accountability. This is usually the real reason why most schools avoid becoming accredited. Sadly, some schools know that their teaching methods are subpar. Moreover, accreditors will look into a school's finances because that can affect educational quality and outcomes. So any financial mismanagement could come to light as a result of the accrediting process. Can't a Bible college still be good without accreditation? It's possible, but it's also possible to win the lottery. Quality control in education is complex. So how would you know if a school is offering quality? Some schools blatantly have slack standards, but evaluating a school's standards can often be difficult to judge without having a quality education yourself. The problem is, without accreditation, we have no information as to whether a school is delivering quality or not. Pursuing such an education then becomes a high-risk proposition. And schools that avoid being accredited often have deep systemic problems. And here's a pro tip. If an unaccredited program doesn't make its completion requirements public, that is a bad sign. Like, for example, if they're offering, say, a graduate degree, it should not only include the courses you have to take, but also the thesis requirements. For example, are you required to write a thesis? How long is that thesis? Who is judging the thesis? These should be part of a school's catalog where you can actually look it up. But it should also be available online so you can find out before you invest in the school what exactly the requirements of that program are going to be. And then compare those requirements to other schools. See if they're comparable. What if I earn a degree at an unaccredited school, and after I graduate, the school becomes accredited? Doesn't that later accreditation approval redeem or validate my unaccredited degree? Unfortunately, no. It doesn't work that way. While rare, diploma mills sometimes go legit and become fully accredited. However, that does not redeem degrees earned when the school was not accredited. Ironically, when a diploma mill does get accredited, it will often refuse to recognize or accept its pre-accredited degrees. there will always be a cloud of doubt over the quality of unaccredited degrees, because they can range in quality from very good quality to complete crud. And there's no way to tell how much change occurred between a school's pre and post approval status. Also, I wish that unaccredited schools would stop baiting students with the prospect of future accreditation. That is, quote, "Start your degree with us because we are in the process of being accredited," end quote. This is really dishonest, since it is selling students a degree that may never be considered anything but dubious. This is even more duplicitous, since some schools have become accredited in under 2 years. So if a school is serious about being accredited, just earn it, instead of selling students on speculation. Further, if they are trying for accreditation, it doesn't mean that they will be approved. But I've seen diploma mills string students along for decades with promises of accreditation that never materialize. Well, if some institutions want to avoid scrutiny because they wouldn't pass accreditation, what are some of the practices that might cause a school to fail accreditation? Okay. Well, there are several practices that are often done by unaccredited institutions that would prevent it from being accredited. For example, hiring unqualified teachers. Some Bible colleges tend to use their own pastors who may have no other qualifications at all. Also, lack of clear and published evaluation and grading standards. A school may also not pass accreditation if there's no professional development for its faculty. Some Bible colleges may decide that whatever an instructor teaches is just simply good enough. Or there is no process to address professional misconduct. For example, if a teacher sexually harasses a student. Furthermore, some schools compel students to sign a document that makes them forfeit their entire education if they file a grievance against a teacher. Yes, that really does happen. Furthermore, classroom instruction may not be considered up to par if it consists mostly of watching videotaped instruction. This is in no way a quality education, because there is no ability for the student to interact with instructors. And finally, a school may not qualify for accreditation if it accepts work for courses or degrees that is less than what is normal for that particular level of education. For example, an unaccredited school might offer a 1-year BA degree that is in no way normal. Or it might accept a 50,000-word dissertation for a PhD. Also not normal. So having standards that are consistent with the average of higher education is very, very important to the accrediting process. Are there fake accreditation organizations just like there are diploma mills? Yes, there are. We find that in the race to create fake diplomas from fake institutions, there has also arisen fake credentialing organizations to give fake institutions a veneer of legitimacy. For a modest fee, some guy with a P.O. box will send your school a certificate saying it's accredited. No fuss, no inconvenience, and most importantly, no one prying into your business or your dodgy books. Real accrediting agencies have been validated by a government department such as the Council for Higher Education Accreditation or the U.S. Department of Education. In order to be acceptable for recognition as a bona fide accrediting agency, the agency itself must submit its processes to be examined by external auditors who file reports with the government. So, essentially, real accrediting agencies audit schools for quality assurance and then have outside auditors examine the agency's processes to make sure they are suitable for evaluating quality education. Fake accreditors subvert those processes and just provide low-quality schools and degree mills with, quote, paperwork that validates what these schools already do. There is a school I want to attend, but it is not accredited. Do I need accreditation? That really is going to depend. What if you want to take a future degree? If the answer to that is yes, then accreditation matters more. If you attend an unaccredited school, you may discover that your degree isn't fully recognized or that only some of your credits are transferable. This can be particularly a problem if you want a bachelor's degree from an unaccredited institution and then want to earn a master's degree from an accredited institution. You might find that the master's program may not accept your bachelor's degree. So in this particular case, accreditation is going to matter a lot more. One advantage of accreditation is that every member school has agreed to accept the degrees and course equivalents from all member schools. Moreover, this transfer benefit is quite extensive. So academic work is generally considered even between accreditation organizations. In conclusion, there's a lot to consider over whether or not accreditation is going to matter for you. So if you are planning on going to an unaccredited college, I would really evaluate whether an unaccredited education would present for you either a benefit or a future problem. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you learned something today and you found this interesting. And I'll see you next time on Ancient Egypt and the Bible.